Welcome back to chapters 2 and 3 of the connection equation. If you missed chapter 1, I'll put a link to that down in the video description. But this is the chapter where you meet Jane, a fictional newspaper reporter whose journey you will follow off and on throughout the book. And you're more than welcome to listen to this chapter first and then go back and find out what the whole book is all about. Here we go. Chapter 2, Assignment. "Consarn it, people," Larry shouted through the office. "We need a human interest piece for the Sunday edition, and it's got to be good. Better than good." The various reporters and section chiefs kept their eyes studiously glued to their computer screens, hoping not to get noticed by the senior editor, and assigned extra work. "Jane," Larry shouted, selecting her from across the room despite her best efforts to crouch down and hide behind her monitor. "What are you working on?" "I'm up to my neck in the suicide surge." "Not good enough. We need something warm and fuzzy, something to show the Trib they're not the only ones who can go viral with a fluff piece." "Well, that explains it," thought Jane. The Tribune ran a story 2 days ago revealing the human side of sanitation workers, and it had caught on via social media all over the world. It presented a rather ingenious blend of facts, humor, disgust, irony, and the tough but tender sarcasm of Chicago's garbage collectors and their bizarre, you can't make this stuff up experiences while picking up trash. Now, Larry's pride, or ego, or competitive attitude, as he called it, needed to do the same in order to prove that his paper wasn't second-rate to the big guys in their fancy building down by the river. Jane tried to think of an excuse or some way to deflect Larry's attention away from her and onto someone else, but she hesitated a moment too long. "Go find it," Larry commanded. "Figure out what people want and give it to them. We're all counting on you, Jane. Knock it out of the park." Great, Jane thought. There goes my week. It was only Tuesday morning, which would have left her plenty of time if only she knew what she was looking for. She'd better figure it out quick. But whatever, it would be fine. This was just part of the job, and this sort of thing didn't happen too often. Her suicide story could wait a few more days. It was mostly filled with facts and quotes from mental health professionals, and those wouldn't change by next week. "And I'd like to see a draft of the suicide piece by tomorrow morning," Larry added. Jane slumped in her chair and sighed. It was going to be a long week. Now for the discussion quotes and questions. You'll notice, by the way, that the question numbering continues throughout the entire book. So here we're on question 7. What do you think people want most? What do you think Jane should write the article about? Question 8. Is what people want and what they need the same thing? Explain why or why not. And again, if you've got someone you can discuss these things with, that's fantastic. Pause the video and do that. Otherwise, pause it and just think about it for a minute. You'll get a lot more out of this whole course, this whole book. Let's continue now with chapter 3, What People Want. Because you are an intelligent reader and because you know this book's title, you already know that Jane is on her way to discovering that what people want is deep, genuine, lasting, meaningful, supportive, satisfying, high-quality human connection. This fact cannot be overstated nor disputed. Too many long-term studies from all over the world confirm the intrinsic human need for healthy, vulnerable relationships as the most important ingredient of long-term happiness and overall life satisfaction. Our desperate need grows even greater as wondrous modern technological conveniences like the internet and home delivery undermine former rhythms of developing these connections. But more important than exploring broad global trends, let's talk about you specifically. Please answer honestly. Do you enjoy enough connections to feel fully satisfied and happy with your place in the world? Or do you sometimes feel alone, unseen, underappreciated, and long for more or better quality friendships and love? I know I do. On one hand, half of my life has been filled to overflowing with exquisitely beautiful relationships and long hallways lined with wide open doors of magical opportunity, many of which I eagerly walked through. On the other hand, I've also experienced my share of loneliness, intense heartache, and ongoing frustration. I accept the blame for 90% of this suffering because it was perpetuated by my own limited perspectives, which blinded me to what should have been relatively simple solutions, doing their best to kick me in the shins and get my attention. But I couldn't act on those opportunities because I simply did not yet know better. As a child, I was shy and hypersensitive. Just in time for high school, I became gregarious and lived a rather charmed life. I never considered myself one of the popular kids, but in hindsight, I see that my group of friends were well liked by all other groups, and that our good-natured and fun-loving influence altered the general culture around us. But even during those idyllic times, which continued into my college years and beyond, behind the scenes, hidden in the shadows all the while, lurked my old fears of being unlovable and alone. And those skewed perceptions stood firmly in the way of my ultimate success and happiness. Learning and unlearning so many life lessons was a long and painful experience, and I don't intend to let them go to waste now. I'm determined to share all the helpful insights I wish someone would have told me 50 years ago in books like this and other University of Life productions. I'm determined to construct and inspire a better, more supportive and joyful world around me so I can enjoy it along with anyone willing to accompany along a better road than whatever we've been traveling down up until now. When you're around people, you just light up, a friend recently observed as we walked along a lakeshore path and stopped a few strangers to ask them for a favor. And what's true for me is also true for you because you are a human being. We may prefer different personalities, have different circumstances and communication styles, but at our foundation, we all crave love and understanding, to express ourselves and feel understood and appreciated, and we cannot completely thrive without it. 3 major impediments stand in our way, which we'll quickly explore in the next 3 chapters, after which we'll return to Jane and her journey of discovery. Discussion, quotes, and questions. Question number 9. On a scale from 1 to 10, how satisfying are your current connections? How safe and happy and alive do they help you feel? And here's a quote from Lawrence Vanderpost. The Bushmen in the Kalahari Desert talk about the 2 hungers. There's the great hunger and there's the little hunger. The little hunger wants food for the belly, but the great hunger, the greatest hunger of all, is the hunger for meaning. There's ultimately only one thing that makes human beings deeply and profoundly bitter, and that is to have thrust upon them a life without meaning. There's nothing wrong in searching for happiness, but of far more comfort to the soul is something greater than happiness or unhappiness, and that is meaning. Because meaning transfigures all. Once what you are doing has for you meaning, it is irrelevant whether you're happy or unhappy. You are content. You are not alone in your spirit. You belong. And again, that's Lawrence Vanderpost. Thanks for listening to chapters 2 and 3. I hope you're excited to follow Jane's voyage of discovery as she figures out exactly how connection works, then learns more and more and more. If you're ready for your own copy of the entire book, you'll find a link in the video description or continue with this playlist. We're going to skip a few chapters and pick up with Jane again in the next video with chapters 7 and 8. Thank you for sharing this playlist with your social media followers, and I will see you again soon.
Walk around you. Tell me what's it gonna take.